Welcome. If you're new, my name is Wade. You're watching another edition of DHN Sports Fantasy Football. Now, this video is not only an introduction to myself and the channel, but we're also going to go over some mock draft strategies. It's my first year in fantasy, but I'm learning already that the offseason is all about scouting. It's all about finding the players that you want to add to your existing dynasty leagues or potentially who you want to add to your team in next year's fantasy league. I am in a PPR league, standard, no keepers. So I will be redrafting. If you're in a league similar to mine, then draft strategy is going to be your best friend. Before we get into a mock draft, I do just want to share some statistics from my playing history. You can see here, I'm playing on ESPN. This is my first year. Finished second with a 9-4 record. That was pretty cool. My wife, as a matter of fact, finished 6-6, but she won the freaking championship. I don't know how that happened, but that's the joys of football, right? And you see, guys, I made it all the way up to the championship round, but I didn't fare so well. Dallas Cowboys for life got me pretty good, 249 to 190. It was my first time experiencing the playoff setup. So the 2 week swing was very interesting to me. There was a lot I did not know. So going into next season, guys, I am very excited to apply some of the things that I have already learned in just a couple weeks in the off season and what I'm going to learn and share with you on this channel over the next few months. So we'll dive more into my league and other content. What we're going to do now is do this mock draft here. And I'm using fantasypros.com, their draft wizard that allows you to sync your league. And I'm finding that platforms that allow you to sync your league are gold mines, treasure troves, even. So now that I have my league synced, draft position is 6. This is very key because your draft position definitely dictates your entire strategy. I like to randomize it though, see where we land. We're 4th. Okay, so we'll run this draft from 4th. Positions we'll be picking: quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, flex, kicker, a defensive and special teams, and 7 bench players. So that's pretty standard. Everything else is set. Let's jump into the draft here. Brought to you by Renegade Fantasy Football. Okay, so I'm picking 4th right away. Jamar Chase, Jameer Gibbs, and Bijan Robinson are off the board. So Bijan, I know, is highly touted as being a number 1 pick for 2026. I tend to agree. Jameer Gibbs, much the same story. A lot of people are expecting him to continue the production from the last 2 seasons. Listen, I'm a Michigander. So I'm gonna try to keep my homerism for the squad out of the content as much as I can. I'll admit to you, I didn't get a lot of production. I didn't get a lot of numbers from the Lions last season. I picked Amon-Ra St. Brown as my number 1 pick. That's how I ended up in that situation. But things are a bit unsure here in Detroit. We just hired a new offensive coordinator, and to be quite honest with you, I do not know that man's name. Do not know where he came from. But hopefully, he knows what he's doing. Now, I'm picking 4th. I read a couple books. I didn't finish these books, but I've started reading a couple books that go over draft strategy. One of the key things that I am learning is you want to aim for running backs, wide receivers to start. As you can see by the trend that's already being established, wide receiver and 2 running backs have already been picked. So, just for the sake of the demonstration, let's continue the pattern. I'm going with CeeDee Lamb as my first pick. Now, of course, this isn't de factos. I'm not telling you what you absolutely have to do. I'm sharing strategy with you. Number 1, another big thing about fantasy football is the community factor. It's bouncing off ideas off of other coaches, off of other team managers. So now we're at a second round, pick 7 here. Okay, let's see who's already been taken. And you can see the pattern is continuing: wide receivers, running backs, wide receivers. Wide receivers and running back, especially in PPR, points per reception, That's where all of the money is made. So you always want to craft your rosters, your lineups around running backs and wide receivers. And don't worry about picking a top tier quarterback because as you'll see, I've run a couple simulations already and I'm noticing another trend is that there will be quarterbacks available as late as the seventh, eighth, and ninth rounds of the draft. So when you first get into the draft, focus on your point scorers. These will be running backs and tight ends. So I got 54 seconds to make a selection here. I have everything sorted by top projections, top 10 players available right now. I went wide receiver first round, CeeDee Lamb. Let's take another wide receiver because Drake London, I feel, is going to be superb next season. The Atlanta Falcons are going to have a new look. They just hired Kevin Stefanski, coach of the year. So that's going to create a positive environment for Drake. He should see a lot more targets in 2026. So now we're in round 3. These picks are going quite quickly, guys, and these are not live. This simulator, I'm pretty sure it's probably some AI in the background here that's auto-generating these picks based off of expert projections. What I'm going to do here is continue to just kind of go with my gut because the roster I want to form in 2026 is going to be filled with guys with a lot of upside. I'm looking at younger players, maybe year 2, maybe year 3, 4 at the max, that didn't get a lot of opportunity to shine in 25 and maybe in 24 that are guaranteed to blow in 2026. So now pick 3, well, round 3, pick 4. Let's go over to your team list here. We're just focused on wide receivers. So we got 2 wide receivers. Now we can start digging into the running backs because running backs will go quickly in your draft. Bucky Irving is projected quite high. 79% of the experts agree that this is where we should go. So let's just take it. Let's take Bucky Irving in the 3rd round, ladies and gentlemen. Now that we're 3 rounds in, I want to pull up something. Well, you know what? 2nd running back, Kenneth Walker III. Okay, Seattle's going to re-sign him, especially after that Charbonnet injury. But now we're in round 5. Let's take a look at the draft board here, guys, because looking at draft boards, you get a chance to see patterns, and patterns dictate behavior, and that gives you your best insight. So with us picking 4th, we got CeeDee, Drake, Bucky, Kenneth Walker. I think those are good, solid first 4 picks there. You also notice, like Dallas Cowboys for life, followed the same pattern. Running back, wide receiver. We have Roman's rowdy team leaning heavy towards wide receiver. We have Phillips' perfect team, a bit more balance coming out of the gate. Wide receiver, 2 backs, a quarterback, and a tight end. Lucas Loud team, wide receiver heavy, 1 running back. So the picks that your opponents make definitely give you insight into their strategies, who they will oftentimes line up against you when we get into the season. So that's how the draft board is looking. I'm down to my 45 seconds. We got 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. It's round 5. I am okay with starting to pick a quarterback, and I'm going with Bo Nix again. That's right. Bo Nix got me to the playoff, got me to the championship in my very first league in fantasy, my very first year in fantasy. So if you want to call it beginner's luck, you want to say I'm fanning out, hey, I don't care. I knew Bo Nix was going to be that dude back in Oregon. All right. So round 6, pick number 7. Let's take a look at the draft board again, just to keep our eyes on any patterns that may be emerging. We were the only one last round to pick a quarterback. What does that tell you? Quarterbacks will be available. Good quarterbacks will still be available later rounds in the draft. Yes, Burrow has been taken, Allen has been taken, Lamar has been taken, Hurts and Daniels, but you still have, let me just show you here, Baker, Prescott, Mahomes. People may be hesitant on him because of the injury, the lack of Travis Kelce, and the fact that the Chiefs are just going to be a completely different team going into next season. But you got Drake May And this is completely crazy. And I know will change after the Super Bowl, especially if Drake May gets there and if he wins. But if you can get your hands on Drake May, man, you take him. So backing up Bo Nix, I'm taking Drake May. I think that's a good look. And then you see again here, we're in the 7th round. We still got Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, Jared Goff to pick from, Brock Purdy. That is a secret of fantasy football that, as I was researching content, I didn't hear a lot of people talk about. A lot of people will tell you to make sure you get your stud quarterback right away. You don't necessarily have to do that. And then there's also in-season trades and moves that you can make to position yourself even better. What you want to really do ultimately when crafting your lineup is to focus on flexibility and adaptability, because you got bye weeks to consider, you got injuries, you got all sorts of things that could, all sorts of intangibles that could play a factor in your player's performance for that given week. So when you're constructing your roster, definitely consider flexibility and adaptability. Adaptability to your bye weeks, adaptability to changes in the weather, adaptability to changes in personnel, flexibility for particular matchups that you may face. Now, we got Bo, we got Bucky, Kenneth, CD, a couple wide receivers, 2 running backs. We are in round 7. I got 30 seconds to make a pick. So, with the way we have it set up now, let's go over and let's pick a defense. This is when I start to pick out my tools, my utilities, and I think the defense is definitely one of those. And with picking a defense in the 7th round, you begin that a little bit earlier than anyone else. So it gives you the opportunity to get a much stronger defense. You'll see I wasn't the only one, though, that finished the round picking a defense. Dallas Cowboys for life, they began picking theirs. So now we have a defensive player. What we don't have is a tight end. But look at these receivers that are available. Emeka Egbuka, Ricky Pearsall. And again, to the point I made earlier about wanting to pick players with an extremely high upside. I don't think Emeka Egbuka, even though he went off, he still can do better. I still feel that way. So I'll take him right here. 8th round, 7th pick. All right, let's see who we have available now. Caleb Johnson, Matthew Golden, Jordan Mason. Man, tough loss with Zach Charbonnet, that injury. Guys are never the same after those injuries. This is something I have observed, and I've been watching football almost as long as I've been able to walk, okay? And I've seen it time and time again. So we got Emeka Egbuka is our 3rd wide receiver. He'll be in the flex spot. So we need a tight end. We need a very strong tight end. We can start filling out the rest of this roster. This was a tough choice before I was putting this video together between Njoku, Warren, and Colston Loveland. I am telling you, I think Colston Loveland is going to have a major jump in 2026. Okay? Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, the system is now locked in. Even though the playoff game didn't necessarily go in their favor, this is the best the Bears have looked in a decade. Colston Loveland is going to be a benefactor. For that reason, he's on my team. So now we are in round 10, and we take a look at our roster. We've gotten our starters filled out. And I like this starting lineup here. Bo, Bucky, Kenneth Walker III, CD, Drake, Colston, Emeka Egbuka, Broncos defense. We need a kicker, but don't worry about that. We have a couple more rounds to select a kicker. I can promise you that, and we'll be able to get a great one, too. We also got Drake May as a backup. Okay, so we're solid. Now, let's feel things out a bit here, because remember, like I said, if in a PPR league, you need point scorers. You need guys whose utilization rate is very high. And amongst these positions to choose from, running back and wide receiver have the highest utilization rates. So let's take a running back. I see the man right there, If not for that injury, he would have finished the season as one of the top 5 running backs in the league. That man is Cam Scatterboo. I'm taking him. In a couple other mock drafts, I wasn't able to get him. So yeah, I'm glad I'm taking him for sure. Let's get another running back here. Let's take Javonte Williams since nobody took him. Experts are very high on him at 70%. That's going to make our overall draft grade look pretty good. So, with that, we now have 4 running backs. That's a good batch to have. That's a good way to start the season. 4 strong running backs. We have, let's see, 4 bench spots left. So, if you want, you can go crazy, draft you another running back. Quishon, somebody got Quishon Judkins. That would have been the next guy I can pick. But let's scroll through here because I'm curious if Woody Marks is still available. I was very impressed by Woody this year. Jaden Blue, he's another good one too. Well, let's see if we can get Woody down here. Tyler Algier, hear a lot of good about him. But Woody Marks, man, had him on my fantasy this year. Did absolutely phenomenal. Fantasy Pros allows you to look at game logs. You can see it was more so towards the back half of the season that he really started to get into his stride. And you also notice this snap percentage began to increase as well. I believe Nick Chubb had an injury midway through the season, which contributed to that. But by the time they put the ball in Mark's hands, they said, oh, he might be him. So I think he will continue to be him next year. So taking him in the 12th round. You can still find immense value, guys, I believe, in the later rounds of your draft. So just be on the lookout for it. So we're stacked at the running back position. Bucky, Kenneth, Scatterboo, Williams, Marks. Rest of this, we're going to dig into, let's see. We can get a kicker, backup defense, and yeah, one more wide receiver or tight end. So let's see what we have available here. Let's go to the top. Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft is available. He was very impressive last year. Let's look at his numbers really quick here. Game logs. Oh, yeah. Before he went down, he was the number one guy. Snap percentages all above 90%. Fantasy points 33.3 in week 8. You don't want to miss that. And in this late in the draft, round 13, we can scoop Tucker Kraft as a backup tight end to the rookie Colston Loveland. That's a genius move. We got 2 more spots here. Where we're gonna go? Now we can get our kicker. We can get our kicker before this draft is over, and you can see Brandon Aubrey. He led the league in fantasy last season, if I'm not mistaken. So Brandon Aubrey's a great pick. But this one gentleman that I want on my roster, I'm going to see if he's still available. This gentleman kicked the longest field goal in NFL history, not only during the preseason, not only during practice, but during the regular season as well. Like, that was just absolutely fantastic, man. You got to shout out Cam Little, okay? I'm sorry. I don't care what your experts tell you. The guy who kicked it the farthest should be on your team, okay? So we got 2 more spots left, 2 more bench spots. We just filled the kicker position. Let's see what's available on the defense. I want to have you a strong defense. The Texans defense are available. Do you guys think there will be a drop-off for Houston? None of the players are leaving, so I don't see a drop-off happening. We'll take the Texans defense. Pair that with, who did we pick up before? The Broncos defense. So I'm running with the same defenses that I had last season. I'm going to stick as close to that roster as I can because, hey, like I said, they got me to second place. We got 1 more roster spot to fill here. Let's see. Let's go to all available, see who's the highest. Jaden Higgins out in Houston. Luther Burden III, very impressive. There's Jadon Blue still available, but I don't want to overload with running backs. So let's see. I'm going to take a wide receiver as my last pick here. I'm going to take a wide receiver, see who's available. Wan'Dale Robinson. Absolutely no way. That is going to be the steal of the draft. So, Fantasy Pros gave me 66 out of 100. That's fine. I don't really care. But the name of the game, ladies and gentlemen, is to practice. And a platform like Fantasy Pros will give you the raw data on your picks. So, if you want to explore that, by all means, let's see where we fell. Projected standings. They got me at the bottom of the league. That's fine. Starters, I'm finishing 7th. See, projections only tell one side of the story. True footballers know that. My approach towards fantasy football is the fact that I know the game. I've been watching the game ever since I was a child, played the game in my youth. I know these numbers only tell one side of the story. Okay? But with fantasy football, they are very important numbers. With that, though, let me know what you thought of this particular draft, what I may have missed out on, what rookie mistakes did I make. If you're a fantasy football veteran, let me know down in the comments. This is my first fantasy football video, so your support is highly appreciated. With that, my name is Wade. I'll see y'all in the next one.